So, here's a fun little factoid about today's adventure. Apparently, the 2014 DVD release of The Web of Fear was actually the best-selling classic Doctor Who DVD release at the time. Now, sure, it might have been coasting off the success of the recently released 50th anniversary special Day of the Doctor. Nevertheless, 15,000 units sold on release week in the UK alone. That is an achievement not to be scoffed at. Doesn't matter though, because it has a missing episode represented only in telesnap format. Sorry, best-selling DVD, but I'll still choose the infamously cursed 2021 CGI animated Blu-ray over watching another telesnap reconstruction any day of the week. Imagine releasing an incomplete story with a lazy telesnap reconstruction on physical media these days. And we're back with another 6-part Second Doctor story from 1968. With one missing episode infamously reanimated for modern audiences, this is The Web of Fear. Of course, not to be confused with The Hand of Fear, or The Webbed Planet, or The Power of the Evolution of the Day of the Webbed Planet's Fear of Giant Hands. Let's begin by acknowledging the cliffhanger from the end of The Enemy of the World. So the bad guy has been flung out into outer space, left to drift while fans speculate his inevitable return for 54 years. The TARDIS doors are open mid-flight, oh no! But not to worry, because that situation is resolved within a minute. But hey, at least it actually went somewhere, unlike some other fake cliffhangers from previous stories that just are forgotten by next episode. Looking at you, I think it was the Romans. Was that the one where the TARDIS fell off a cliff at the previous episode's climax, and the next one it's like, oh yeah, that happened. Now, as many of you may already know, this story actually acts as a follow-up to a previous serial, The Abominable Snowman. Remember that one? I waited like 3 months for it. Come on, I only reviewed it 3 weeks ago. I found myself wondering, how would one tie into the other? After all, it had only been 3 serials since the last one. Would it be like a pseudo-sequel where it's got some familiar elements and not much else? Or would it be like a full-on continuation? Neither of which we've seen much of yet in Classic Who. Yeah, sure, we've had villains return and that, and even the meddling monk has shown up once or twice, but those were different stories under different circumstances. This actually works wonderfully as a direct follow-up, only in a new location. Once the cliffhanger from the previous episode is quickly resolved, there's this introductory scene that's filmed just like a classic cheesy horror movie, and we get to see our old mate Professor Travers shed some insight on what he's been doing over the last 40 years of his life, since we last saw him hunting the Abominable Snowman. It's a great little sequence with melodramatic acting and a bombastic musical score. For dear viewers, if it was not yet obvious, a returning side character isn't the only thing linking this to the Abominable Snowman. No, the Yeti are back, and this time they have eyeballs and a laser gun that shoots deadly webbing. Do not question it. It's great how they set it up. Bring back the same actor who played Travers before, who, as you may know, is the actress who plays Victoria's father. So, you know, nepotism. But yeah, bring him back, play the same character, age him up a little bit, and again, have the serial set 40 years after the events that happened in Tibet. This time, taking place in the London Underground, with all the railway tunnels completely abandoned, aside from the prowling Yeti and their bubble bath. Deadly webbing. Do not question it. Same writing duo as last time as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And with the Yeti comes the Great Intelligence. Oh, and if you thought we were done with outside context yet, ho, no way! For this serial brings us the debut of Nicholas Courtney as Colonel Lethbridge-Stewart, or more commonly known today as the Brigadier. Obviously before he got promoted. If you've ever watched classic Doctor Who, then you must know the Brigadier. He's arguably the most iconic and most semi-recurring character in the show's entire history, going so far as to appear in multiple Doctor episodes, anniversary specials. He's even got a lineage that lasts into the modern series. He's been in spin-offs and even making his final appearance in the Sarah Jane Adventures Sarah Jane's probably like the second most iconic recurring character, so yeah, kind of sweet. Yes, Andrew, I'll be watching Downtime. It's funny how I've been talking about all this trivia and yet haven't even started on the story. Well, we know where it's set, with the Doctor making a humorous observation. It's funny how we always end up landing on your Earth. Just wait until you regenerate, Doctor, you'll be sick of the place. I'm a little bit unclear of what led to these circumstances, but essentially the returning, much older Professor Travers is helping to assist a small military unit, not that unit, in defeating the Yetis, who, as we know, are unstoppable robots being controlled by the Great Intelligence, who's, I guess, somewhere in space? He's out there. I will keep the Intelligence's involvement vague, because it's not quite the same as it was in The Abominable Snowman, and since this is apparently one of the more popular classic Second Doctor stories, for those who haven't seen it, I've got to leave some surprises for you. The setting isn't quite as clear as, say, the Ice Warriors or Enemy of the World. There's less emphasis on what's going on around the characters and more on their plan to win the day. Look, truthfully, I could have used some more visual world building. We do get a fascinating look at the world up top on street level when the TARDIS lands, with just this corpse covered in webs, but then they immediately go underground. I'm like, no, more of that please. There's occasional mentions of the surface and what's going on up there, but personally I would have loved to have seen more of it. Though I'd say you're really not supposed to think too much into it. You just kind of accept that there's some army dudes trapped in a section of the London Underground Railway, and they are trying to fight off or escape from the approaching Yeti. And to its credit, it mostly works. Like, I don't think it suffers from not having, like, a really well-established, like, alright, here's what's going on, here's the situation. Because I still don't know, is it invasion? Is it small scale? Is it world scale? I mean, I suppose, in the context of the story, it doesn't matter all that much. There's plenty of memorable characters. Captain Knight, Lethbridge-Stewart, Professor Travers, and his daughter, who looks a little bit too similar to acquaintance I used to know. Brie? Anyway, Staff. What kind of name is Staff? And of course, the master of absurd facial expressions, the cowardly Evans. Now, some might say, it starts to get a tad bit boring at the start of episode 3 throughout most of episode 4. There's a little too much planning and plan making, talking about planning to make talks about... You get the picture. And a lot, and I do mean a lot, of specific London Underground Railway station naming. Right, we've got to get to Tipothy Square through Chimbob Gardens. But wait, what if we go through Mango Crescent? No, that's been sealed off by the the deadly webbing. Let's just go through Flibberton. Although, I was very tired while watching this, so I didn't really mind the pace dragging a bit. That is until the end of episode 4 pulls a complete 180 and becomes the best thing ever. A squadron of expendable soldiers take to the surface, where we finally see what I think is supposed to be a Yeti invasion. Again, it's not made particularly clear, but we do see that all the streets are empty and that there are Yeti everywhere. Excuse me, but what the is my favourite Cybermen music doing playing over the Yeti? Like I said in my Tomb of the Cybermen review, that was my first ever Doctor Who story. And that music that plays while the Cybermen break free of their tombs and awake the Cyber Controller, like, that is iconic, and I will forever associate that music with that incredible moment. But damn if it doesn't fit perfectly here. It actually adds a lot to, in my opinion, the best battle we've seen yet in old Doctor Who. Maybe it's my monkey brain or my love of action movies, but getting to see an actual proper gunfight near the end of episode 4 was awesome. Miles better than that piss-poor clusterfudge from The War Machines. Seriously, I grew up watching Dad's Army. Dad's Army had some better skirmishes than the first Doctor. I honestly half expected it to just cut to credits and have it be immediately resolved at the start of the next episode. But instead, we get to witness this small squadron of soldiers led by Lethbridge-Stewart unload entire magazines, like full ammo clips and rockets, directly into these indestructible Yeti, all while being accompanied by that awesome music. What an incredible sequence, easily the highlight for me. Am I easily pleased? Maybe. You know, again, monkey brain. The last couple of episodes are serviceable, with some nice tension and mystery. And while the day is saved, the enemy is not actually defeated. Nope, the Great Intelligence is still out there, and I got a feeling he's not quite done with snowmen. Wait, that's not the snowman I was talking about. Wait, Richard E. Grant? So there you have it, The Web of Fear. I see why they re-released it on Blu-ray, because the DVD, much like Enemy of the World, doesn't have any special features or anything, just the telesnap construction of the missing episode, so I totally get why they re-released a special edition of both Enemy of the World and The Web of Fear. But, you know, it's nothing else I really need to discuss, right? Oh yeah, the animation. I don't really follow many Doctor Who content creators yet, but even I couldn't avoid all the videos lambasting this 3D CG animated abomination to animation. Their words, not mine. But honestly, I'm going to be real with you, and very out of character for me. Probably due to a combination of me seeing these janky 3D models like posted everywhere for the last year, and just having so much time to adjust to it, and admittedly being incredibly tired while watching it, I was just kinda okay with it. Maybe after seeing some of the terrible 2D animation, this just seems fine in comparison. So, as I understand it, this was some studio's attempt at something new for a missing episode animation. A form of motion capture technology to add somewhat realistic body movement into a 3D space. Credit where credit's due, they tried. Points for trying. When I first saw the previews, I had the same reaction as most, yikes, that is uncanny and terrible. But for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, and I must stress just how tired I was while watching this, surprisingly it didn't take me out of the viewing experience. Don't get me wrong, if you load up any clip on YouTube and watch it out of context, it's terrible, no doubt about that. That is, if you can get past the copyright. Honestly, the first few seconds I thought, okay, I can deal with this. And I saw Victoria's ugly Shrek face and I just cracked up laughing. Yeah, the only real downside I can definitively say is that it's a real shame we miss out on seeing the Brigadier's introduction in live action, because that moment was during the lost episode. Oh well, we saw him play a different character back in the Daleks' Master Plan, if you remember that one. And I'm sure we'll be seeing him again soon. And again. 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 Thank you for watching. Can you believe at the time of uploading, it's only 1 month left until Christmas? So that snowman image I showed earlier was topical, right? Be sure to check in next week while I review Theory from the Deep. Have a great day. Wait, what's that I see? Is that a Doctor Who spin-off review coming soon? Yes, I'm gonna watch it.